My name is Cate Waruguru. If you like me by my full names, I'm Catherine Wanjiku Waruguru, former MP for Laikipia County Woman MP. I'm Gitungati, and we are into this to see that we liberate the Republic of Kenya from the hands of William Ruto and also other hungry tigers who have clowned him as the most corrupt president in recent times. He has been ranked number 2 globally as the most corrupt president. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen who are following us from the diaspora, allow me to just say hello before I'm given direction and to tell you that we love you, we appreciate you. Diaspora remittance has never been this low. You've kept doing great, and I would confirm that as a former member of the Finance and Planning Committee in the 12th Parliament, that away from tourism and agriculture, diaspora remittance is one of the biggest gainers earner in the Republic of Kenya, and we'll be discussing more about that. Allow me, my good friend and brother, Mr. Kairo Kabiru, our moderators, Georgina C.S. Mombi, and our girl from Nairobi, Mase Maina, to appreciate you and also to our listeners and our viewers this morning from Nairobi. And I'll be here to be taking you through this on behalf of our friend, the People's Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. I had a conversation with him before I came live. That's why I had a bit of delay, and he has sincerely apologized for being not able to be with you this morning. And I believe you're going to make it up, and probably in a few days, probably this week or next week, he'll be able to make it to be with you. He says he loves you, he appreciates you. Previously, when you had his inaugural diaspora TikTok conversation, we've never seen his TikTok page rise like it did. The viewership in millions. We should be confirming for my team as at this morning how many people are able to tune in and follow up the conversation and the debate. And I'm building up on his shoulders and what he started. And if I don't sound quite prepared, please bear with me. It's the first time I'm doing this, and I may not be privy to all the information he had. But on anything that is general question in regards to governance, in regards to leadership and accountability, and putting the government on check, I'll be here with you. Thank you.
Host, we cannot hear.
Oh, thank you. Okay. We cannot appreciate you more. And I still insist this echo is coming from Mweshipa's place. We have a lot of them. I don't know if we will be able to keep up with that, but good. That is where the echo is coming from, and our people are like, okay.
Can we try?
You are muted, but we will address you, and then you continue addressing our people. We want to thank you very much, and more sincerely, our message. We have had a number of conversations with His Excellency, the People's Deputy President, and today we wanted one issue addressed. The USA and the American government have come out very clearly that they are no longer going to give aid to Africa. Our people back in Kenya, we have had people who were previously beneficiaries of this program. Mothers who cannot afford the bare minimum, insulin, the rent for their children. 2 days after the President of the United States of America said USAID was no longer going to work with Africa, they cannot get that. People in the malaria-prone areas are devastated. Our young men and women and Kenyans who use the ARVs, they can no longer get them. Unfortunately, we may not have wanted this question answered by His Excellency, the People's Deputy President, but what is your plan if we form the next government so that we don't get caught our pens down if our partners and financiers decide they will not be working with us. Please take us through that because Kenyans are very concerned about that. Thank you. Unmute, please. Cate, unmute Catherine.
Yeah. Yeah, we good? Please confirm. You hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kairu Kabiru and your team of moderators. I take the first question in regards to USAID and the long-standing MOU or G2G, that is the American government to Kenyan government, long-standing arrangement that would be able to allow the American government to be able to help Africa, and to be specific, our arrangement between Kenya and the USAID. And I want to say this is a setback towards the tie or agreement, bilateral agreement that was between President Biden and President William Ruto. And however we are able to see it, you remember that the inaugural visit by President William Ruto to America, when he stepped into the Oval Office, he came out and bragging and telling us how he's been able to brag himself a lot of goodies from the American government. And one of it is the infamous Melinda Gates, and including other American companies. I would recall, I think my first day at Mombasa Road that was organized by then, the former ambassador, American ambassador Meg Whitman. This was bringing on board American investors who proudly showcased their ability and might to be able to be doing what you call manufacturing locally of vaccines, and majority of these drugs, including malaria drugs and ARVs. Just bearing in mind, I think the American government had gone ahead of us, and they didn't foresee a situation whereby William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza administration would come out of this with zero. Because according to me, Donald Trump administration has proved William Ruto's visit to America to be a waste of public resources, because all he bargained for was about the Haiti mission. And the KDF, the local KDF, that's the Kenyan Defense Forces, were promised to be given some, I hear, old crafts and other ammunitions that they could be used to, to protect our territories. And number two was the issues of the American aid, amongst many other goodies. By the look of Donald Trump, his first 100 days, it seems like we are back to the drawing board, and William Ruto's administration, they have more than enough problems on their table. Let me say this for the record. We are not going to wait for us to form the next government. Let me just go quiet about matters, life and matters health. It would be so irresponsible of us as citizens and people who God has endowed us with wisdom and ability to do this. And therefore, I will be engaging the Deputy President, that is the Second Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. We have a serious team of members of Parliament who we have ably been able to take the role of opposition, led by the likes of Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, Honorable Mukonji, Honorable Gakuya, Honorable Major Don, many others, including the MP for Mukurele, will be putting this government to task as soon as Parliament opens in, I think next week. I will confirm that they resume the second week of February, and therefore we'll be taking the government ahead on to ask them to tell Kenyans what are the immediate interventions to make sure that our fellow citizens, they don't die. Bringing this closer home, what is the meaning of the termination of grants that we used to receive through UK aid? It definitely means that there is a number of Kenyans who are going to lose their jobs, and directly this affects the 47 counties, affects our hospitals, meaning that this impact of this grant decision by Donald Trump administration will be felt from the local dispensaries all the way to our national hospitals. What does this mean to our mothers? It means that our children, they are going to, immediately, since like cancer now, the president must put up a task force to be able to ask themselves how cancer, which is the National Drug Authority, are going to start procuring vaccination drugs for our children and also for adults, Remember, vaccination is not just to small babies. There are people who missed out their immunization, let's say on TB or something else, whereas they're still adults. And we also have the drugs. The UK aid was not just about immunization drug. There's also the immunization injections. There is an injectable, which are drugs like the malaria drugs. We had the TCB drugs. It means that the Ministry of Health, we need to guide the government responsibly as we criticize them, and if they sound like they do not have ideas on how they can be able to arrest this waiting risk, then we need to be able to get somebody in Parliament very fast to draft something that is going to rescue this. And in my opinion, we need to see cancer up in speed, and we need to see the Council of Governors forming an emergency meeting to address matters health, so that they're able to now ask themselves where they're going to get some money to be able to procure these drugs. The issue of ARVs and malaria is something we cannot wait until these things are done as a matter of emergency. We need to see Parliament, once they open, as they do their supplementary budget, they need to get an emergency kitty and be able to know what to do. Otherwise, if I would be quick to take a swipe on the Kenya Kwanza administration, the failure to be able to protect and nurture what was built up by the previous regime, and by this I mean that President Mwai Kibaki, and we had Uhuru Kenyatta, they built up on NHIF as a national health insurance scheme. The collapse of NHIF with no explanation to the public, and us losing money because we kept on paying on NHIF, and majority Kenyans, even you who are in the diaspora, your parents, your relatives, and your friends back at home, they are stranded. They don't know. Pesa yetu ilienda wapi? We used to pay for NHIF. Does it mean tulioshwa? Our money is gone? And now because you're being told you need to register or give your biometrics, and when you, like a day I visited our local hospital in Nanyuki town, you're told, oh, you didn't give your biometrics correct or right, and that explains the reason why maybe she or SHA is not working. So my point is, we have a collapsed health system, we have a devolved system that also is ailing and struggling. I'll be quick to point out that I know the Council of Governors, they owe us an explanation, because they've been given authority to incur expenses and spend money that they collect on payments on bills, hospital bills, or drugs and services that are procured by Kenyans in their facilities. By this I mean, if my mother walks into Nanyuki Hospital or walks into any dispensary, the amount of money they pay for consultation, for drugs, or even for generally outpatient or inpatient, that money is not remitted to Nairobi or to the central collection point. That money is spent at the source. And therefore, we'll be looking into it to see what is their long-term, what is their immediate relationship between them, KEMSA and the Ministry of Health, in regards to addressing this emergency shortcomings from the withdrawal of American government on US aid support. And therefore, I've been able to diagnose that problem, bring it closer home, and also say that we are not going to wait so that we form the next government. But that does not mean we do not have a plan. Our plan is to see that we have a people-driven healthcare. See a wash, and it will be so rude to our mothers who have been able to be doing table banking for years, and they've been able to take us through school, they've been able to buy lands and properties, they've been able to get cows to milk, and they've been able to do what we call self-sustenance through small money, through chamas, and the government, in its mighty and in its strength and capacity and resources, they cannot run a manageable and a progressive health insurance scheme. Thank you.
Host, we cannot hear you.
Thank you. So thank you very much for articulating that issue very nicely. I have a question that have been posed very much by people in the diaspora. Mheshimiwa, we have found the people in the diaspora, like you mentioned, they made so much back in the country. Subsequent regimes, starting from the Kenyatta, the Moi, the Kibaki, the Uhuru, the Rutos, all You run to our people in the diaspora and tell them, guys, you're part of the conversation. We have a party that we are forming. We have formed the party. You are going to be part of the government. And I understand goodies have been done out there. But the moment a government is formed, we understand the men and women in the government, the mob psychologists, will use their power to take their relatives and friends, and sorry, maybe even their girlfriends and boyfriends, to the embassies in the diaspora. What is this that you can tell our people in the diaspora? How the regime of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua with his team would do things differently. Are we in a scenario where maybe for the first time we might have those people who are in those diaspora countries getting those jobs of the ambassador and the right? Thank you. Back to you, much more.
Thank you very much, Mr. Korea.
Unmute.
Right, you hear me?
Yes, you're here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Korea. Thank you for that question on diaspora remittance. I think to me is a ranking question to any Kenyan or any child from this land who is working abroad. And those of you who have relatives here, you have investment. Allow me to take this opportunity to first pass my gratitude to all Kenyans who are living in the diaspora, because you've been able to prove to us that you're patriots. You have invested back at home. Majority of our land buying and selling companies, they heavily rely on what you do as part of your greater plan, employing back your savings back at home and preparing also for your retirement. And number two, our parents also and families, who you keep on supporting time to time. And I would imagine that Western Union, MoneyGram, M-Pesa, all that, it is no shadow of doubt that diaspora remittance, you have kept our companies, local companies here, like M-Pesa and Airtel, I don't know what you call Airtel, Zetel or what. You've been doing a credible job. But the big question here, and the elephant in the room, is how much does this cost you as a Kenyan who is living and working in the diaspora to be able to send money home? How much taxes is charged on the person on this end? If my memory serves me right, the infamous finance bill 2024 had an element of saying that you who is a sender of money, you'll be able to be charged, and there was an interest rate. I was not quite prepared, like I said, I was standing in for our boss, Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, but I will take it up from my little experience in finance and planning committee, that it should be absolutely tax-free for you to be able to send money home. Reasons why? It is that you choose not to invest your money in your host country or in the foreign country where you're working, and you choose to send money home for your loved ones to invest or for the government to use it in terms of government bonds. Because I know there are those of you who you choose to invest by putting your money on fixed accounts or fixed deposits locally here, and our banks, they use your money to lend to us as customers, and they don't give us money for free, so they charge us interest rates. Number two is the question of flow of money, and thus in technical language we call it circulation of money, and we should be having a complete circle of the same. That we as Kenyans, we spend a lot of money out there, especially what we call medical tourism. We ferry so many Kenyans and ship them out of Kenya to specifically a country like India, Germany, Turkey, where we have specialized medical treatment. And majority of these countries, they gain a lot of earnings from us through what we call medical tourism. We have many students who are schooling outside, like cases like where students are doing medicine, they're doing engineering courses, they're doing piloting. We fairly never get a chance to be able to earn $1 back at home. And just like I said, diaspora remittance stands number one. And then number two, we have tourism. And number three, we have what we call agriculture. And agriculture, the days of Moi, tulikuwa tunasema kilimo ni uti wa mgongo, and we used to do serious export on coffee, tea, pyrethrum, just mention a few flowers, what we call herbs. It's no longer the case because East African community, we've become one community and the competition levels are so high. For example, Ethiopia is not in the East African community, but Ethiopia stands as one of the biggest competitor with Kenyan coffee and Kenyan tea, Kenyan flowers. And therefore, the world, like you always say, is a small village now and a global village. And therefore, the question of only Kenyan or people who are born, Kenyan children, a person born here, is the only person who will take their money proudly and enter into a bank and send money home. By this I mean, there is a possibility of us as a country to import anything from China, import anything from whichever part of the world, but there is a likelihood of people sending stuff here or investing their resources here. And therefore, regarding the Gachagua administration, God willing, if God ever gives us that chance, and I boldly believe that Kenyans, both here in Kenya and in the diaspora, given a chance, this is something that must be looked into so that we encourage you to invest your money home, invest with the government through what you call government bonds, invest your money through SACCOs, secure SACCOs, and number 3, invest your money directly to your loved ones and into direct investments like the Broti Maguta, the apartments that you build, the factories that you are doing. Because I would quote cases of Kenyans who are living in the diaspora who have seen places like Isinya, Kitengela, Ruto, those of us who are in Kiambu, and you see they come back home and they prepare for retirement and they've started small factories, others are medium sized and they're doing so. Not to mention my favorite sufurias, I get them from Kenyans who are getting pots, furnitures, carpets, and all these man of household items, second-hand items, clothes, mention cars, mention tractors, mention all heavy machinery equipment. We get all these things from outside, but it gives me a lot of joy and pride just to know that we have Kenyans who have taken up this seriously and taken it up as a job, as opposed to us having foreigners who are doing business with us, directly or indirectly. And therefore, I would strongly advocate for people or Kenyans who are living in the diaspora to support a cause for Rigathi Gachagua. And as I look forward, I know Sunday he will be addressing the nation and he'll be giving us political direction, because he promised us that by the end of January, he will be giving us political direction. And we are heavy now into making sure that everything is polished up for him to launch his political party. And remember, Kenyan politics, they are all driven by political parties. And I think my word on this is that we need to relight the rules of engagement and the rules of taxation policy towards diaspora remittance, so that diaspora will take it seriously as business. And just number one, like I've said, to agree, it is our number one highest honor as a country. And number two, diaspora in itself, you are taking up jobs. You're giving us jobs here locally, and you're also taking up jobs which are predominantly held by people who are working in those countries that you are in. For example, I've talked about the issue of importation of cars. Previously, we used to have the Japanese do it. We used to have people in British, the Wazungus, even in the United States of America, they're the ones who are selling us vehicles and used to buy online on our websites. But today, it's Kenyans who are taking up these jobs, meaning that you technically need a lot of support. Before I close that, allow me to mention something that really is a bit disgusting and that really bothers me. With how Kenyan government takes up the issues of Kenyans in the diaspora. Number one are the issues of embassies and consulates, which, I mean, it's been a lie. I remember I campaigned every for Kenya Kwanza government, and President Ruto then, he was a deputy president. He came all the way, talk of Texas, Georgia, Seattle, Virginia, all these places. He came giving empty promises that he's gonna raise some money to build new embassies, consulates, and all this. And you realize things are a little bit tricky and tough. It's no longer a priority, and I'm not a government spokesperson. Maybe the one who is earning that salary to speak for the government should tell us how far have they come to secure the 48th county, which is the diaspora county, diaspora voters as far as their needs are concerned. Let me mention something about charity and donations. There are charity donations and items. Some are medical, could be clothes, could be office consumables, could be anything related to some of the things which are of a high need in our community. I know most of you give back and you're kind and generous people. I have seen massively you help and support in giving us specifically medical equipment to our hospitals back at home. I mean, I've seen, especially ladies, and sorry Mr. Koira for saying this, I've seen many girls who come back to their villages, they want to do refurbishment of their dispensaries, wanaleta equipment, zawazeza kuwalk, hearing aids, and beds, equipment, some of them which probably they're in your estates, and the only thing that bothers you is not shipping, is the taxes you pay once that container lands at the port of Mombasa. I must say that is highly disgusting, and I'm not inciting anybody. I'm only saying that the Kenyan government, and even in future, it should not be, even as we form the next government, that any person who wants to send an item home in their primary schools, in their hospitals, in a church, my goodness, it cannot be a case of you doing business. And therefore, if it's just taxes for formality, there should be what we call tax exemptions, and it should be duty-free, like it has been in the regime of Mwai Kibaki. And those tax exemptions, they should be standard and should be clear. I would sound a bit ignorant as a former member of Finance and Planning Committee without mentioning that finance bill is prepared annually. And therefore, once one regime comes, another regime comes, unakuta, they want to look a little bit ambitious in taxing areas that previously had been exempted from paying those duty and all those manner of taxes. And therefore, moving forward, we need to see much of these charity organizations, your foundations, your chamas, sending things home. You don't know how much one computer or a desktop would mean in your local primary school. I don't want to vent into that. I don't want to mention that majority of our primary schools do not have steamer, they do not have laptops, they do not have even those desktops that will allow our CBC teachers to be able to do their assignments. I don't want to mention that we were promised on CBC that watoto wetu watapewa tablets, I think laptops. Until today, there is none, and so we are practicing CBC literally on a piece of paper and pen, and that would mean that we really need a lot of support from outside. I will close that question by saying that the Kenyan workforce, Kenyans who are working in the diaspora, I would rank you 10 times stronger than US aid or UK aid. If you are given the right environment to work, void of corruption, void of manipulation, and all bureaucracy removed, I believe each one of you would make a difference in their county and in their village. It starts with the small things that we do by changing our villages and making our nation a better place. So thank you so much, and I hope the question was adequately responded. Over to you. Host.
Kindly unmute your mic so that we can hear you. Thank you, sir.
I'm trying to be as civil as I possibly can. Okay, one last question, Your Honor, and I would say you tried on that. You got about 70%, but I must insist on this on behalf of the more than 2 million Kenyans who are out there in the diaspora. Please put us into perspective that all the ladies, we've never had any person who is in the diaspora going to Kenyan Parliament to represent the diaspora. We've not had any Kenyan becoming a cabinet secretary, which should almost be obvious that we should have 1, 2, 3 ministers by the number of the population that is out there and by the input that they have. So please try to be as precise as you can, and I know His Excellency will come to address this question, because this is a question that is revolving in all the meetings that we've had with people in all the conversations. I understand, His Excellency will be talking about a party that we might ride on Sunday. We want to be part of that party. We don't want somebody to say, oh, we have a party, this is what we're going to do for the diaspora. Oh no, we want to have a representative from the diaspora. Today is a Wednesday. Our people will be able to send somebody there to come and speak on behalf of the people in the diaspora. That is how serious we are. That is the first thing. Number two, our people out here, we know His Excellency, the People's Deputy President, we know what he's doing. He is on the right course, and we know he has been able to bring people together, like-minded people. What happens now that we are supporting a cause, the Kenyan Diaspora Chapter? We will support as much as we can, but what is our take on that? Will we finish and then we are told, oh, our motto is we're Mama Boga and the border. And when that happens, when we are partnering with you people, you tell us, okay, the diaspora is our partner. We hold you so dearly. We love you. We do. But when it comes to forming the government, we realize that diaspora will have no representation. So let you and His Excellency and your team come up with a framework that we shall have what you call a memorandum of understanding between the diaspora and those people who are working with him. Because that is how serious our people in the diaspora are. We can have an engagement, whether it will be online or if we need to send representatives there to come and sit, agree, and negotiate with you. So if you are able to take us through that, then I can assure you I will have been done with matters politics, and I will have other people ask one or two questions. Thank you for your being too honest and being too articulate. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Mr. Koira. Confirm you hear me?
Unmute, Kate.
Yeah, confirm you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Koira and our listeners, the Kenya Diaspora Chapter. I think you're so clear in your question. Unasema hapa hakuna kubebana wana. You need to get to know the Kenya Diaspora Chapter. What's your take in this? Why should you be supporting us? Why would you join us in this cause of liberating our country? And you don't want lip service. Lip service is when we politicians take you to heaven through lip service, and at the end of it, there's nothing to honor. Let me start by saying this. I will only answer what I can, and I know that His Excellency, the Second Deputy President, will carry this as his question because it rests everything on him as the party leader. But let me attempt with a little knowledge and a little few information maybe I could be privy to. That the party we are forming and we will be launching shortly. It must be a party that is cognizant of the 48th county. That is the Kenya Diaspora Chapter. There is no party for you without you. From right representation to party offices, what we call the satellite offices, all the way to conversations that clearly highlight your well-being in your respective countries, how host countries receive you, treat you, and our advocacy as a country towards negotiating for best terms of employment and best terms of relationship, and you are general protection with your host country. And number two are the issues to do with repatriation. Number three is the issues of repatriation. Because if I have instances and times where Kenyans living and working in the diaspora, probably you got ill, your visa expired, or something happened, and now it's a give and take issue between you and the host country police or equivalent of security agencies, harassing you, deporting you, mistreating you, and these are things that the host country and the Republic of Kenya should guarantee that any Kenyan who would take food into a foreign country, it is upon us as the people of Kenya and the citizens of Kenya to make sure that the host countries in our bilateral relationships, whether it's on trade, whether it's on labor or any engagement, it should come from a basic right of human kind of view, as opposed to us pleasing these foreign entities and foreign countries. Number two, you've asked me to confirm to you the issues of representation. I would only speak about the representation in our political party, but I will not speak for representation in the cabinet and PSs or ambassadorial roles. But I would say, as a fellow Itungati and a fellow Kenyan who believe that we need to be as inclusive as possible, the question of inclusivity in our constitution, if you check on it, the question of women, youth, and persons living with disability must be accommodative of people who are building Kenya and investing in Kenya, though they do not work and live here with us. And therefore, the representation of the Kenya Diaspora Charter is non-negotiable. I did not take part with the delegation that came to Texas in the year 2022, when William Ruto came there to popularize the UDA party. But I want to thank you because you came out in large numbers, supported him. I will not forget how the Kenyan embassy treated him and hosted him. They were not there. They were not available. I don't want to mention their names, but specifically the Washington, D.C. office. But bearing in mind that he went through all this mistreatment, and he forgot about the Kenya Diaspora Charter. He forgot about the promises he made at Boston in regards to the huge number of Kenyans living there, and they do not even have a consulate, no office, and they have to travel all the way, majority of you, to Washington, D.C. is a question that really bothers me on the issue of genuinity and authenticity of his talk or promises. And therefore, having been a victim of conmanship, I would also continue advocating for Kenyans living in diaspora charter, which something I know the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua would feel very okay and comfortable, because he was also conned. That the question of people talking and asking, oh, support me, helping me, and with no written agreement, it should be a thing of the past. Politics of gentleman agreement are long gone. And the administration led by William Ruto, the president, Kenyan president, has proved to us that there is nothing like gentleman agreement or lady-to-lady agreement. Come to think of it, why would my circle give me a loan, and a quick loan, without asking for any collateral? Why would my mother go to a chama and ask for school fees for their child without being asked for a cow, kama inapelekwa kwa auction, in case my mother doesn't pay for that loan? And that tells you something, that we politicians tumeharibu jina sana until we have to do things right. And I want to guarantee you, Mr. Koira, and Kenyans who are watching us and following us this morning and this evening, that our future with Rigathi Gachagua, our future with our next party that we are forming in a few, it should be one that is ready to write things on pen and paper, and we deposit those memorandums with our respective advocates so that they are implementable. But, hakuna siku mrefu, kama that interview that Rigathi Gachagua had yesterday, ikiongelelea watu wa Molembe Nation. And Kadili was able to deposit the coalition agreement between Musalia Mudavadi, now the Prime Secretary, and the Speaker of the National Assembly, one Moses Masika Wetangula. And when you look at what they agreed, Maze is not been honored, and it seems like these big boys is no longer about what they agreed. It's about them and their personal development. Sorry to say so, but I know you are people who are educated, you are very exposed. You have Donald Trump regime and the trip of Biden and other presidents who reigned in the American government. I know most of you have voted a number of times, and you've seen how their local politics are. You've seen their political parties, and I know we'll learn one or two things in regards to how to manage the expectation of people and what we need to do in future to be able to put to account a leader who may want to lie or look like he wants to be dishonest. The question of the memorandum of understanding, to me, I approve it. And even we look into the future coalition, because I must say this, there is no single political party can be able to win any election on round one and garner 50+1 vote round one. And therefore, even you check UDA party as one of the biggest party we had, equivalent of Jubilee Party, we could not do it without coalition partners. And these lies are not just to individuals. William Ruto has lied to his partners in the coalition. He has lied to his deputy, who was then the deputy party leader in UDA, has lied to Kenyans like myself, Waruguru, and therefore you not expect much, and there isn't much he's gonna do between now and 2027, because he already has too many setbacks and too many lies he has said. People are putting him to task. Watoto wadogo ukiuliza mwizi ni nani, ukiuliza muongo ni nani, they will tell you. Because now it seems like telling the truth and telling lies is too close to each other. What's genuine and what's counterfeit? They look too similar, they look too together, until now they have perfected lying to make lies look like it's telling the truth. And therefore, my word of commitment, which I will tell our boss, Rigathi Gachagua, also to take up that question in our next interview, is that the diaspora, Kenya diaspora chapter, the representation of a cabinet secretary, PS, ambassadorial, and also ranking positions, especially to do with foreign affairs, it should be left to the people who have served in the diaspora. I've seen many Kenyans who have lived and worked in the diaspora who have come back home, contested for positions, and I would also ask fellow brothers and sisters who wish to go for positions, please, it is time now to align yourself and start hitting the ground running. I know people would be happy to vote for you because we need those ideas. I would quote cases and instances of a country like Uganda and Tanzania. They would always get their best mind and their best brain in the cabinet from Kenyans who have worked from the diaspora. I think other than PS Sing'oei Korir, who I think he lived or is married to, I don't know who, that's his personal life, who I saw become the PS of Foreign Affairs. Majority people who are in this government are people who are termed as experts. I don't know what experts and what is this expertise that we do not have with Kenyans who are living in the diaspora. And therefore, for me, I support you. We have many witnesses who are listening to us today that we would like moving forward the party we are building and a presidency of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, who we pray for and believe that our courts will clear him from the impeachment. I 100% believe his name will be on the ballot if he'll be able to convince his fellow coalition partners that his name will be on the ballot, and with no doubt will make him the 60th president. Thank you. Over to you, Koina.
Host, please unmute your mic so that we can hear you.
Thank you, Kate. I've never had it more clearer than you have tried to put it. And I can assure you on Sunday, as you launch the party, we shall have a representative from the diaspora sitting with you people there. So please make sure you have a seat at the front for the diaspora people. Thank you very much. And now I wish to say I finished this first part, and
can I make a clarification?
People here will get nearer home now. Please let everyone take a maximum of 2 minutes. We will start with make a statement or ask a question, and please don't let it go for more than 2 minutes. Back to you, Kate, and we have Coach Georgina.
I'm sorry, Mr. Koira, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I wanted to clarify something. Come Sunday, the media invite at Wamunyoro will be giving us what we call political direction. And I know any Kenyan who is listening to me, they know there are exciting times ahead in the month of love, the month of February. This is the month when we'll be having Uchaguzi, the African Union, and Tinga Baba, who is on the ballot. And Vile will be expected in the month of February to be telling Kenyans when we are opening our doors for a new political party. But come Sunday, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua will be addressing the nation and giving us political direction. Finally, I wanted to confirm the figures that you remitted to diaspora. Ni yenye imezima ama ni simu imekufa? Si charge ziko tuconnectiwe. Imerudi kabisa. Ngoja kakufe.
Nilikuwa nashindwa nitatoa mic. Nilikuwa nashindwa tutatoa